Welcome, folks. Welcome. My name is Juan Vitas, and the purpose we're here is to simply get to know each other. As I often say, people do business who they know, like, and trust. I'm the founder of Winning on Wednesday, and Winning on Wednesday is a platform that meets every Wednesday at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And our goal is to build meaningful relationships and to expand your network. I always say that we're there we're not a transactional organization, we're a relational organizations, and we help brand awareness and grow your business. And to speak, my friend here, Louis Cano, we have him as a guest today, and I'm excited because he's a friend of mine, and I know Louis for many years, and I just want to introduce everybody. So, Louis, how are you? Can Louis?
Good morning. I'm
Yeah,
doing great. Glad to be here on your show. This is exciting. So looking forward to the interview.
thank you, thank you. So, tell us a quick introduction about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Luis Cuneo. I am the co-founder of Mojave. And just to kind of give you the 100,000 foot view, I started in the industry back in the early 80s. My career has evolved from, to being a developer today, being CEO of a startup company. And my focus today is to help small businesses grow and help our clients be able to monetize from in-app advertising. So that's a little bit again. I know you have other questions, but I'm going to save those the rest of those answers for later.
Absolutely. So tell us where where you got started. Tell us where you were born and the whole thing, and just tell us with the very beginning how the whole story got started.
Yeah. That's a fun question. I'll always love answering that question. So my father's from Argentina. My mother's from El Salvador. I was born in San Francisco back in the early 60s. And my father's trade back then, he was a mechanic for a local gas station. And my mom back then was a stay-at-home mom, one of those very important jobs. People underrate those, but that's an important
Absolutely.
job,
Oh, it is. It is.
And
Absolutely.
this is, and the reason I'm going to tell you this next piece is because it really kind of starts to set my stage for my life later on in life. My father was one of those guys that really believed in friendships. So back to your point, what we do business with the people we like, we know, we trust, right? And out of nowhere, my father meets this gentleman who works for General Motors, GM, and he knows that my father speaks Spanish and he loves cars. He works on his car, which happens to be a Chevrolet, offers my job in Central America as a technical advisor. And he says, we don't have anybody down there. We don't have anybody in the States that speaks Spanish fluently, that knows General Motor cars like you do. We'd like to offer you a job. And so this is my first, introduction to Americas, because it doesn't end there. We go to Panama. We're there for a year. And now remember, I'm still about 4 or 5 years old, somewhere in that range. And so we go there, and I go to school. Now remember, I was born in the States, but my first language is Spanish. So my English is very limited at this stage. From there, we then hop over to Peru, and we spent a couple of years there. Again, my father's still working for GM. And but while we're there, we experience now what it's like to be in a country that's unstable economically and politically. And from there, we jump ship over to Argentina, which is more my father's from. So we're back to my father's homeland, and I get to meet my family, which is the first time I met them, by the way. 300 members. I had no idea I had that many relatives.
Wow.
And we're there for a couple of years, and my father realizes the United States offers a tremendous amount of opportunities to anybody. So we're back to the States again. And so while being here, my father opens up his own shop repairing cars. And at this stage, my father's network starts to expand into the automotive industry in the parts arena. And that will then later on have another impact on my life. And it's at this stage here that I am introduced now to racing, motocross racing. And I loved it. I love the whole get up on Sunday, put it on the gear, put it on the colors. I raced for Honda
Yeah.
originally. I was sponsored by them. And then I raced for Kawasaki. And I just love that whole experience. I just loved it. Just the sound, the adrenaline. But you know what it was, Juan? It was the mental preparation. I had no idea that this would be the foundation to becoming a great executive, is the mental preparation to face adversity, challenges,
Eh,
things that you don't expect.
And at such an early age too. I mean, you were kind of forced to network, at when you had to, go to different countries. It's kind of like you had to make new friends, and you had to start like every. So that
Yeah.
it kind of prepared you as well to network with people, as I say. Going back to your dad, you say your father was in the auto business, and then he had the parts. And tell us about how he grew his network, because that's a really exciting story about that, about your father, how he grew his network of people, and as I said, the Rolodex, the old Rolodex, and all that stuff. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. My father was never shy. My father was, meet you, and he says, I'm looking for someone that does this. That's how he grew his network. Because my dad always was very intentional. So he says, I need to find someone that can help me with this piece. And they say, oh, I know someone like that. Kind of like the old days. Do you know someone? Sure, I know someone, right? And so my father was very diverse in his community. So not only did he deal with the Hispanic community, but he also dealt with the Jewish community. He also dealt with the Japanese community. And one thing led to another. He ends up meeting some of the executives at TRW and some of these folks in London. So my dad, out of his own pocket, it takes vacation time to go meet these people in these countries. And they were so impressed that he took it upon himself to meet that established a lifetime relationship.
Wow.
Years later, my dad would be called and they say, hey, we got $4 million worth of obsolete parts. Can you sell this into South America, or can you sell this into Africa or Asia? And he would say, sure. And on a handshake, he'd get a line of credit for $4 million. None of this,
Wow.
let me run you a credit on you. It was, again, your key word. You said trust. I think that's the important thing that we today have forgotten what that word really means.
Eh,
And
$4 million was a lot of
yeah,
money back then.
it was a lot of money. But and my dad didn't have the tools that we have today. There was no CRM tools. My dad had a brown address book. He kept adding pages. And so when he passed away, I looked at that book and I remember that book growing up, that it was always at the coffee table. And he would make notes, and there was no sticky notes. So he created his own sticky notes. And but that book dated back to 1970 when he started that book. And when
Wow.
he passed away in 2006, I mean, he still, and he would call everybody in that book once a year just to stay in touch. So you
Oh,
talk about
wow.
marketing, you talk about branding. That's how that played a big impact on shaping my views on what friendship and networking is all about.
Wow, that's an amazing story. And that was his computer, that brown book was his computer, so that's truly amazing.
Big data.
Wow, data, yeah. Talk about data. And did you when you were little, did you have any role models or anybody that inspired you to grow up, or
Juan, that's an interesting question because and this is something I hear about nowadays, right? So being young, because I bounced around so many different countries early on in my life, I really never had a chance to really establish those idols in my life, right? But my mother played an important part of saying, what's your interest? What do you want to pursue today? What do you like? I said, well, I like art. Well, let me take you to a museum and we're going to see art. Here are some of the greatest artists. And so my mother was probably my idol, really. She was my engine to inspire me. And if I say, I want to go and play soccer, and play football, she said, fine, let's go do that. So my mother was really the biggest part of my life. She allowed me to explore and entertain any of my ideas. And so that I would say she was my inspiration.
wow. Yeah, same here. My mom's always there. So they're strong women, they definitely get, because our
Yeah.
dads are away, they're working. And I might, like my father, he worked 50, 60 hours, and I was always home with my mom, so my mom was like my best friend. So the other
Right.
thing is, do you have any other hobbies or any interest when you were growing up?
Sure. So as we talked about racing, so
Yeah.
racing took a big part of my life, and I played a lot of other sports. I played on tennis. I played on soccer. I did a couple of travel teams growing up. But over the years, as you get older, right, you kind of change your hobby. So my racing was then replaced in my mid-20s with tennis. So I actually joined the California circuit, and so I played for a few years before my injury. And I played on tournaments. Had this crazy idea that maybe someday I could play the U.S. Open. I figured, why not? Give it a shot, right? And and then after that, I played golf. But over the years, one of the things that I really took upon myself to enjoy was cooking. And so I took cooking lessons. I went to cooking academies, and I would then travel with people that I would know the owner of a restaurant. And I would ask if I can go back in the kitchen and look at their setup. So I learned a lot from, again, that's one of those things you can do for the rest of your life. You can be 80 years old and still cook. But I enjoy cooking different meals from different parts of the world. So I like cooking Chinese dishes, cooking a lot of European dishes, Central American and South American, food. So that's my hobby today, is cooking. That's what I enjoy doing.
And I gotta ask, what is your favorite meal? What's your favorite thing to cook?
Oh my God. So that's, I have different dishes. It's funny. I ask other chefs the same question. What's your favorite? They say, well, it depends what we're talking. So, I would say when I think about a dish, I think about it from a protein, right? Are we talking about chicken? What's my favorite dish? Chicken. So I like chicken francais. I like, so if I were
That's
to say
good.
that's going to be my Italian dish, if I'm going to do a Chinese dish, it's going to be the sweet and sour orange chicken that
Oh
I put my own
wow.
spin on it. If I do a Spanish dish, I've taken the paella concept, except
Oh,
I kind of put a little spin of Italian on there. I
oh
replace
wow.
rice with noodles. So I make my
Oh,
own sauces. I've taken my own base. So yeah, so
all right. So let me know when the invite is there, so I'll be over your house. So yeah.
you got to bring the
Thank
family
you.
over.
Thank you. Yeah, I all I know is I know how to cook a mean egg, so I could cook different variations of eggs. I
You
mean,
know?
I also eat eggs every day, but I change it up every day. From a hard-boiled egg to sunny side up to egg sandwiches. You can make all sorts of eggs, and eggs is versatile as
Yeah,
well. Yeah, yeah. So,
it is.
and
Good protein. The good protein.
absolutely. Tell us about your last job. I know you because I know you used to work for IBM, and then I know that was your last job. But tell us about your journey, how you got started with IBM, and how from beginning to end. If you could talk about that.
Sure. It's a fun journey. I've shared this in the past, and it really starts one, going back to, let's start with a disappointment. I'm gonna start with that. So I'm here. I'm 18 years old. I have this notion that I am going from high school to go find a racing team. I'm going to go find me a ride, as that's the term that we used back then, and I'm going to start racing. And this is really the first disappointment, because my network in that space was very limited. So I cannot get a ride. I can't even get a chance to test drive it. So I tried everything, and I realized, well, this is it. So my mother's my inspiration once again. Says, well, listen, you got two choices. Either you're going to pick up a trade, and that's going to be the rest of your life, or you're going to go to school and get educated and figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life. And early on, when I went to school, I actually majored in political science. I wanted to be an attorney, and and I really wanted to get in criminology, defense attorney. That was my thing. And I love the whole. Back in Argentina, half our family is in the law business. That's what I refer to it. But I really loved it. And then at that point in time, I got exposed to computers. And early on in the 80s, discovered the IBM PC. And so my real first job one was programming. And I started programming EPROMs. And I learned this on my own. Never went to school for programming, just picked up a book and started to learn how to program. And then through my networking of Saturday mornings, I go to these coffee shops where they would have all these startups, and people would talk about the future, what the future look like. So there we would talk about the Terminator, we talk about Back to the Future, all those crazy movies. But all those movies had one thing in common, that there were changes coming down the road. Well, it looks like it was to be determined. And I got a job as a programmer. And then from there, I kind of upgraded from small company startup to a medium-sized company. That then I started doing trade shows as a technical advisor. And they said, you know what, you're really good at interacting with customers. We're going to move you out of the dungeon into marketing. And so now I'm in marketing. So now I'm expanding my skill set. Now my degree is a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. So now I have that degree that helps me out. But now I'm in marketing, and I have that education behind me. But now I'm really seeing marketing really at the hands-on experience. One of the interesting things in marketing is that marketing evolves very quickly. Now we're talking about mid 80s now. We're doing direct mail. There's no internet, there's no search engines. This is old school marketing. And I learned a lot. And I had some great, and I would tell anybody who's listening to this, it doesn't matter how old you are, always get a great mentor, because everybody's skill sets can still be improved. I don't care how long you've been doing it, get a coach, get a mentor. So I get a mentor. And this young man who just graduated from Stanford University, he's not that much older than I am. And he teaches me things that I never even thought about. That catapults me then to move into corporate. And from there, I'm handling channel marketing. So I'm now handling accounts like CompUSA, Computerland, and I'm traveling the country now. So now I'm in a very different position. I look back and say, oh my God, here I was just a few years ago in a dungeon, coming in, whenever I wanted. And now I have a prestigious executive job. And a few years later, I joined a mid-sized marketing company, Direct Marketing. It's a catalog company, the largest one in the United States. And I do this campaign that involved Disney, Paramount, and 3M. And here's the question. We talk about big data, Juan. 3M says, in order for you guys to remain as a valid channel partner, you need to sell at least $1.5 million worth of 4mm and 8mm magnetic tape media, which, by the way, that was storage media, to remain as a partner. My CEO comes to me and says, listen, I don't know how you're going to do this, but you got to figure something out. One, life, we're always exposed to a lot of different things. I'm at McDonald's. I'm having one of those value meals, and I see they're giving away tapes. I'm asking myself, how does this work? And next thing I know, next morning, I called Disney. I said, listen, I need to buy 10,000 VHS tapes of The Lion King. They go, for what? That's a giveaway. Not a problem. This is the price. I called Paramount and I said, listen, I need to buy 10,000 tapes of Forrest Gump. For what? I'm giving them away for a promotional piece. Not a problem. Can we use your logos? Absolutely. 3M, I said, 3M, I need to place an order for $5 million worth of 4mm and 8mm tapes. Now, my CEO is losing his emotional control now because I've just spent a bunch of money. And he goes, if this fails, this is your career. I said, I know. But we have data that supports that women start shopping for the holidays mid-year. We also have data that the people who buy the 4 and 8mm are the department administrators. And so they're given a budget. And when they see they can buy this from us and they get a free tape, they're going to buy more because that's their Christmas giveaways. He says, you're crazy. By the time we get done, Juan, we pushed $8 million worth of 4 and 8mm tapes. We had to go back and order an additional 20,000 videos.
Wow.
That became a case study for 3M. And then sent to St. Paul to talk to around 800 executives. Now, this is my first major presentation. Got to be honest with you. I guess, I was scared out of my mind because these are guys, MBA, Ivy League school. Wow. And I remember the CEO of 3M says, son, because you're the most important person in this room. These people came to hear from you because you know more than they do. And he calmed me down and I was able to do my presentation. But then from there, I got into every headhunter's radar. And next thing I know, I'm getting calls now from IBM a couple of years later to head up their direct marketing program that was valued at $300 million back in 1997.
And tell us, yeah, you went for 3 years, right? In 3 years, you 300 million, you said?
Yeah, 300 million. So the goal for IBM was to have around a $500 million a year program. That was their goal. And I said to IBM, you're the largest IT company in the world. You should have $1 billion company. I mean, this department should be $1 billion. And they go, it'll never happen. But we practiced what we teach, and we took the data, we scrubbed the data, we did data analytics, we did big data massaging, if you will, and we changed up our messaging, and we took advantage of Y2K. I mean, Y2K was a big part of this success too. And so that big hype about, again, everything's going to crash. So people were panicking. And we took advantage of IBM Finance. So we financed a lot of deals through this direct marketing initiative. And by the end of 1999, I'm in California and I'm talking to my guys here in New York. And we get everything out because remember, as long as you ship everything out before midnight, it counts as revenue for the previous year. And so, yeah, we got everything out. And so by end of January, we look at our reports, we had a little north of $1 billion in sales.
Wow.
And so it shocked everybody. Now we have been tracking this throughout the year. So we knew we were close to the $1 billion. We thought we'd come in around 990 million. But we were able to make that last push in the last 45 days. That's over the $1 billion mark.
Wow, that's truly amazing that you did in a short a period of time, and that's truly amazing. We're in a section we like to call the golden nugget. If there's any valuable information that you'd like to leave behind that could help other business owners to become better business people, is there any information that you liked or give you want to share some examples or?
Yeah, you know what? That's, again, we talked about this before, and I want to kind of go to that conversation. That is, I think 2020 was a great moment on everybody because it derailed everybody, whether you were in the food industry, high tech. We were, just to kind of put things in perspective for your audience, beginning of March, we had over 400 events on the book, close to 500. And by end of March, I got zero. So our business was wiped out. I mean, there were no live events. I mean, we are in the live event business back then. And suddenly everybody we worked with said, we are no longer doing events. So my clients were facing their own dilemmas. So diversity includes adversity. That's what I like to think of it. You got to be able to think outside the box. In moments of crisis, don't panic. Take a step back. Get a nice cup of coffee, cup of tea, whatever your favorite beverage is, and look at the situation and don't sit there and say, I'm over. It's over, right? Don't call it quits. And I think part of that, it has to do with sports. You could be in last place and still say, I can still win. I mean, a great athletes do that. And I want to reflect that the Patriots, when they were playing against the Falcons, remember that Super Bowl year, the score, I think, was 26-3. Most teams would have collapsed. But the Patriots came back not only to tie, but to win the game. So never call quits, right? So think outside the box, look at the picture. Change is constant. It happens with your clients, your teams, the marketplace. So be prepared for change, and think about options. So that's my golden nugget to your audience.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's great information, by the way. The other thing is, do you belong to any of the networks or organizations or spheres of influence, as I like to call it?
Oh, that's an interesting word. I don't like to just say I belong to groups because I think I do a disservice, right? So what I say is I'm part of many different circles. So I work with chambers of commerce. I work with women-owned businesses. I work with Hispanic-owned business. I think what really counts one is not what they do for me, it's what can I do for them. I think that's the important part. People like to drain, resources and stuff from organizations. And then they say, well, they're not doing anything for me. And I always like to turn around and say, what did you do for them? So how I work with these groups, it's about, opportunities. If someone says, I am looking for someone that can help me with a website, I know someone. His name is Juan Videz. He'll talk
Oh,
to you,
thank you.
right? If someone says, I need, let's just say I need someone to help me with a big data project, I may say, well, it's not in my wheelhouse today, but I know how to do it. I can help you out. So it's about really, it's a two-way avenue, right? So these circles of, again, you call them spheres of influence. I belong to a lot of them. So I'd like to navigate through all of them, and bring something of value to them as opposed for me to always tap in on what they have to offer.
Excellent. Let's tell us about Mojave and Q.
Okay. So the story behind Mojave, Juan, is one, it's really of opportunity. I've always said this, the greatest companies have solved the problem. That's the way it works. And when I was back at IBM, I managed diverse markets, as I mentioned. And in that space there, I had to do a lot of things. I wrote a report that talked about what the diverse markets look like to buying power. And so I met a lot of people during this period of over 10 years, which ended up being 40,000 business cards that were never digitized. And I started looking around. I'm going, hey, how are other people doing this? And I called friends at Microsoft. I called friends at HP, and they said, well, it's we don't digitize the information. So that really sparked the idea to retire. Plus, IBM was not in the mobile space, and I was doing a lot of market research and realized mobile was the next technical evolution for us, all of us. So think of it this. Today, at the present time, there are over 6 billion smartphones in the world. So there are more smartphones than there are computers. And you think about, what does that mean? Why the business card? So I'm also very big in the sustainability space. So I created a product called Q. So Mojave is the parent company. Q is one of our flagship products. And what Q does is streamlines the process, how we share and exchange contact information without the use of a business card. We're trying to have an impact here, Juan, before the pandemic, we used to produce worldwide 100 billion business cards a year. And my goal is to reduce that by at least 50% by the year 2035. I want people to say, I'm using a digital business card as opposed to a physical card. And one of the things when I built Q out, I also realized that there is a need in the marketplace to provide financial resources to my clients. So I work with chambers of commerce, non-for-profit, and the United Nations. So I want to be able to create a revenue stream through advertisement. And so today brands, they care about that engagement with the audience. So today Q is a in-app networking application with built-in ad tech capabilities that allows our clients to be able to monetize it. So today we are one of the flagship products out there that we work with chambers of commerce, B2B organizations, and the app is free to the world. So we don't charge. We're not going to turn around and say, we changed our mind, we're going to start charging you. There's a lot of underserved communities out there that could benefit from this.
Absolutely, and help them make money too. I know this because I've experienced. I'm I'm a partner, affiliate
Yeah,
partner, affiliate partner.
right.
If people want to get to learn more about you, what is the best way to contact you?
Well, Juan, LinkedIn is always a great tool. So if you happen to see this video, again, there's my name, Luis Cuneo. I am the CEO and co-founder of Mojavi. Send me an invite. I'll be glad to accept. Juan, when you're gonna put this up on YouTube, you're more than welcome to put my email address up there as well, so they can
Okay.
reach out as well through YouTube. And again, I'd love to hear from everybody and see what what your thoughts on this interview, and perhaps establish a relationship and be able to work together in the near future.
Wow. Thank you so much, Louis. This is great, Chef, for sharing your story. I mean, as you truly have a remarkable story. I mean, from your travels to the Americas and to come in here is just truly amazing. And I'm just wow. And the fact that you were able to accomplish so much in your life is truly amazing. And that's why I'm really proud to you talk about mentors. And I'm really proud to say that you are one of my mentors, and just wanted to say thank you for that, for always supporting me and your patience as well, because I know sometimes I'm, I know Louis for more 10 years, but I always say he's my mentor, and I've learned so much from you, and I just want to say thank you for that. No, thank you so much for being here, and if you like, yeah, thank you.
Now, and again, I thank you for the opportunity, because you got to remember, this is your time as well. This is your platform. So thank you so much for allowing me to be on your show today and to share my story. And, again, I do these things because I'm hoping to inspire someone out there, regardless of age, regardless of who they are, where they're at, right? It's someone to say, I still have a chance, and I just want to leave this final note. It's when I started my Mojavi, I would go to the startup competitions, pitch contests. And everybody thought that I was one of the judges because I was the oldest guy in the room, only to find out later I was one of the competitors. So I want to leave this thought with your audience that age is irrelevant, really. As long as you are driven, as long as you are open to, change, and you have a vision, a dream, pursue it. It's never too late. There's always a chance for you to make an impact. So do it. That's all I have to say.
Oh, wow. Thank you. That's great advice. And thank you again. And if you'd like to become a member of Winning on Wednesday, simply visit www.winningonwednesday.com and click on the first time guest and fill out the information, and you'll get all the information. And thank you again. And I hope to see you in the next meeting. Thank you, Louis, again for this great interview.